SpaceX just revealed the terrifying truth about China's August 6th lunar test that NASA tried to keep quiet. While everyone focused on the flashy landing demo, SpaceX spotted something that changes everything. A timeline that puts China just 18 months ahead of America's moon return. What did SpaceX discover that has NASA executives in emergency meetings? Let's dive right in. Here's what SpaceX engineers saw that night that made their blood run cold. While the world watched China's flashy yellow flames dancing on steel cables, SpaceX's propulsion team was analyzing something far more terrifying. The mission timeline hidden in plain sight. That wasn't just a ground test. It was China proving they've solved the exact same problem that's been haunting Starship for 3 years. Remember those engine failures on Flight 4? The ones that turned SpaceX's landing into a fireworks show? China's Lanua just demonstrated flawless engine restart sequences, the same capability Starship still can't reliably perform. Think about this. China tested their complete lunar landing profile in one afternoon. Landing engines, ascent engines, precise thrust control. Everything worked perfectly. Meanwhile, SpaceX has conducted 9 Starship flights and still hasn't nailed a single landing without something exploding. But here's the kicker that SpaceX discovered in those leaked images. Those weren't just pretty pictures China released. SpaceX's analysis team spotted something that changed their entire assessment of the lunar race. The Long March 10 rocket sitting in that Chinese facility wasn't a mock-up or a test article. It was flight hardware with 21 YF-100K engines ready for static fire testing. Let me put this in perspective. When SpaceX builds a Falcon 9, it takes months of testing before the first static fire. China just rolled out a complete heavy-lift rocket like they were moving furniture. This suggests their manufacturing pipeline is years ahead of where anyone thought possible. But SpaceX found something even more disturbing in the technical specifications. Those 21 engines? They're based on technology China perfected 5 years ago with their Long March 5. No experimental methane engines, no unproven orbital refueling, no revolutionary manufacturing techniques that might fail. China chose boring, reliable, proven technology, and boring wins races. Here's the timeline that terrifies NASA. If China's already conducting landing tests and their rocket is ready for static fire, they're not targeting 2030 anymore. SpaceX's internal projections put China's first crewed lunar mission at late 2026, 18 months before Artemis 3 even has a prayer of launching. While China was showing off their working lunar lander, SpaceX was dealing with this, another Raptor engine failure during Flight 7. Ship 33 lost multiple engines and exploded during what should have been a routine flight to orbit. This is the brutal math SpaceX doesn't want you to see. China's using hypergolic propellants, the same chemicals that powered Apollo 50 years ago. They ignite on contact, work reliably in space, and don't care about the vacuum of space or months of storage. SpaceX ? They're betting everything on methane-powered Raptors that need to restart after sitting in the cold vacuum of space for weeks. Engines that failed on Flight 4, failed on Flight 7, and still haven't completed a single mission without some kind of malfunction. The leaked footage from China's test showed something SpaceX engineers call engine-out capability. When one of China's thrusters shut down during the test, the others immediately compensated. Perfect redundancy, flawless execution. Compare that to Starship's track record. Engine failures lead to mission loss, every single time. But here's the twist SpaceX discovered that changes everything. China's been lying about their timeline, and the evidence is hiding in their own footage. Remember when China said 2030 for their first crewed lunar landing? SpaceX's supply chain analysis reveals something shocking. The components for multiple Long March 10 rockets aren't being designed or planned. They're already manufactured and sitting in Chinese factories. Look at the dates. Chang'e 5 returned lunar samples in 2020. Their Mars rover landed successfully. They've mastered far-side lunar landing, something only they've accomplished. This isn't a country 6 years away from human lunar missions. This is a country in the final sprint. The August 6th test wasn't a development milestone. It was a dress rehearsal, SpaceX found purchase orders in the supply chain, data that tell the real story. China's been stockpiling rocket components since 2022. They have enough hardware for at least 3 complete lunar missions already built and waiting for assembly. Here's what really scares SpaceX's engineers. While America's been innovating toward cheaper, more efficient space travel, China's been perfecting the art of making space travel work reliably. Their space program doesn't need to turn a profit. It doesn't need to please shareholders or justify costs to Congress. It just needs to put Chinese astronauts on the moon before American ones, and they're willing to spend whatever it takes. China's approach is methodical and boring. They test everything on Earth first. Their life support systems keep Chinese astronauts alive for months in space. Their sample return missions work flawlessly. Their landers operate for years without failure. SpaceX's approach? Move fast and break things. Except when you're racing to the moon, breaking things means losing the race. The Chang'e 4 lander has been operating on the lunar far side for over 5 years. Not months, years. Their technology doesn't just work, it keeps working. Meanwhile, Starship's longest successful flight lasted 8 minutes before exploding. SpaceX's timeline analysis reveals a narrow window where America can still win this race. But it requires something NASA has never been good at: taking massive risks with unproven technology. Here's the brutal irony. SpaceX built their reputation on rapid iteration and accepting failure as a learning tool. But now, when speed matters most, they're trapped by their own ambitious technology choices. Every month spent perfecting orbital refueling is a month China gains. Every engine failure pushes Artemis 3 further into 2028 or beyond. Every explosion on the test pad is another victory for China's methodical approach. Gwynne Shotwell's confidence about meeting Artemis timelines sounds reassuring, but SpaceX's own internal documents tell a different story. The company that revolutionized rocket launches might not be able to revolutionize lunar landing fast enough. China's strategy is working. While SpaceX shoots for revolutionary breakthroughs, China's perfecting evolutionary improvements. And in a race to the moon, the tortoise strategy beats the hare every time. But here's the consequence SpaceX's analysis reveals that nobody's talking about. If China lands first, they don't just win bragging rights. They get to write the rules for everyone else. China's lunar program isn't about exploration. It's about colonization. Their International Lunar Research Station timeline extends through the 2040s, with permanent bases, resource extraction, and strategic positioning for Mars missions. The country that controls lunar water ice controls the future of deep space exploration. The country that masters lunar resource extraction controls the next phase of human expansion beyond Earth. SpaceX's internal reports suggest China understands this completely. Their lunar missions aren't science projects. They're infrastructure development for space dominance. And America? We're still trying to prove our rocket can land without exploding. The August 6th test wasn't just about demonstrating technology. It was China announcing they're ready to win the most important race of the 21st century. But there's one more revelation from SpaceX's analysis that changes everything we thought we knew about this race. Here's that last piece SpaceX discovered that changes everything. China's August 6th test wasn't just proving their technology worked. It was a message. A quiet announcement that the space race everyone thought was just beginning is actually almost over. While we've been debating timelines and analyzing failures, China's been executing a plan that started years ago. The question isn't whether they can beat America to the moon anymore. The question is whether America can even make it there while China's already building their second lunar base. SpaceX finally revealed why that simple ground test shocked NASA so deeply. It wasn't the technology that terrified them. It was the confidence. China tested their lunar lander like they were checking a car before a road trip. Routine, methodical, ready. But here's what keeps me up at night thinking about this. Every breakthrough China achieves makes the next one easier. Every successful mission builds momentum. Every month America delays, China gains not just time, but technological confidence. The space race of the 21st century won't be won by the most innovative technology. It'll be won by whoever shows up first and stays the longest. What do you think? Are we watching America lose the most important race since the original moon landing? Or is there still time for SpaceX to pull off the impossible? Let me know in the comments, and if this analysis opened your eyes like it did mine, hit that subscribe button, because the next 18 months will determine who controls humanity's future beyond Earth. Space Corps out. ULA just publicly blamed Sierra Space for Dreamchaser's epic failure. CEO Tory Bruno basically said, "Don't look at us, they're the problem." After 4 years of broken promises, the finger-pointing war is brutal. Dreamchaser should be delivering cargo to the ISS right now. Instead, Sierra's software disasters have NASA so scared they're demanding Boeing Starliner-level testing. But wait, what if ULA is hiding their own scheduling disasters behind Sierra's delays? Let's dive right in. Here's exactly what went down during that explosive teleconference. When reporters pressed ULA's CEO Tory Bruno about Dreamchaser's endless delays, his response was ice cold and calculated. "We'll be ready when they're ready to fly." The room went silent. This wasn't just corporate speak. This was a public execution. Bruno didn't stop there. He casually mentioned ULA's ambitious plan to hit 2 launches per month, starting 2025. The message was crystal clear. ULA is ready to dominate space. The problem? Sierra Space can't deliver. But wait, is this the whole truth, or is ULA playing a much deeper game? Let's break down this catastrophic failure step by step. Dreamchaser was originally supposed to launch in 2021. Think about that for a second. We should be watching its 4th year of successful cargo runs to the ISS right now. Instead, here's what actually happened. 2021, complete no-show. 2024, new target, still grounded, May 2025. No earlier than, now laughable reality check, 2026. If we're lucky, that's a 5-year slip from the original promise. In the hyper-competitive space industry, that's not just a delay, that's a death sentence. As of August, ULA has managed only 2 launches this year. 2. While SpaceX is launching multiple times per month, ULA is struggling to get rockets off the ground. So who's really the problem here? Now we dive into Sierra's real problems. And trust me, it's worse than anyone admits publicly. Dreamchaser's first cargo vehicle, Tenacity, is supposedly in final assembly. Sounds promising, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. The real killer is software certification, and this isn't just any software. This is the digital brain that makes split-second life-or-death decisions while hurtling through space at 17,500 miles per hour. Every single line of code has to be tested end-to-end because there's literally zero room for error. Remember Boeing's Starliner disaster in December 2019? Software glitches nearly killed that entire mission. NASA learned that lesson the hard way, and now they're paranoid. Any spacecraft heading to the ISS must prove its software works flawlessly before it ever leaves the ground. But here's what nobody talks about. This process takes months, sometimes over a year, and Sierra Space is learning this brutal reality right now. Dreamchaser isn't just any spacecraft. Hidden beneath its sleek exterior are 26 small rocket engines, each capable of firing at 3 different thrust levels. That's incredible precision for delicate maneuvers, but also a certification nightmare. Here's where Sierra made a bold choice that's now haunting them. Instead of using standard toxic, hypergolic fuels that ignite on contact, they went eco-friendly with kerosene and hydrogen peroxide. Ground crews can walk right up without hazmat suits. Sounds great, right? But hydrogen peroxide is a beast. It's corrosive to most metals and breaks down over time, potentially shortening the spacecraft's operational life. Sierra's solution? Zirconium, one of the few metals that can handle hydrogen peroxide without breaking down. Clever engineering? Absolutely. But it also means months of additional testing to prove this untested system won't fail catastrophically in space. And that's exactly where they are now, stuck in testing hell. Here's where the story gets interesting. Bruno talks confidently about fitting in 6 Dreamchaser missions, but let's look at the math. ULA promises 2 launches per month starting 2025. Sounds impressive until you realize they've managed only 2 launches this entire year. That's not exactly the track record of a company ready to handle rapid-fire missions. With a 60-40 split between government and commercial missions, and national security flights getting absolute priority. Where exactly is the room for Dreamchaser? Bruno's confidence starts sounding less like capability and more like damage control. Here's where everything takes a shocking twist. According to insider reports, Sierra Space is quietly considering a complete strategy change for Dreamchaser's first mission. Instead of the planned full docking with the ISS, they're looking at a flyby mission. Why would they abandon their original plan? Because NASA is getting desperate. A flyby would let Dreamchaser approach the ISS close enough to test its problematic systems without the risks of actual docking. It's like a dress rehearsal that could shave months off certification. But there's a massive catch. This requires modifying Sierra's contract with NASA, and that decision hasn't been made yet. It's essentially admitting their original plan was too ambitious. While Dreamchaser sits grounded, SpaceX continues launching Dragon cargo missions like clockwork. Boeing's Starliner is stuck in its own certification disaster, but at least they've managed test flights. Sierra Space? They're still assembling their first vehicle. This isn't about missed deadlines anymore. It's about survival. Every month, Dreamchaser stays grounded. SpaceX solidifies its stranglehold on commercial space transport. The window of opportunity is slamming shut. Here's the uncomfortable truth neither company wants to discuss. This blame game exposes fundamental cracks in how NASA manages commercial partnerships. The agency learned to be cautious after Starliner's failures, but maybe they've become too cautious. The endless testing requirements, multiple review layers, and certification processes that stretch for years. Is NASA's paranoia actually making space less safe by preventing proven technologies from flying? Sierra Space bet big on innovative propulsion and runway landings. ULA invested heavily in next-generation launch capabilities, but both companies are now trapped in a bureaucratic maze that rewards extreme caution over innovation. Let's talk about the money bleeding that's really driving this blame game. Sierra Space has poured hundreds of millions into Dreamchaser development with zero return. ULA has Vulcan rockets sitting in hangars, burning cash with every passing month. Meanwhile, SpaceX just announced another successful Dragon mission. The financial pressure must be crushing both companies, creating the perfect storm